So this video is a clip from my conversation with Sam. We discuss the tactical evolution of fullbacks, looking at how different sides use their fullbacks. The other clips will be linked in the description below, as well as a link to buying Sam's book. So if you are interested in the concepts and topics we talk about in these videos, definitely go over and check out his book.
Used a double pivot, hasn't he, quite a bit, more
Yeah.
so than that first year. It was literally Fernandinho, De Bruyne,
And
Silva,
yeah, the
wasn't it? That
two
was your
three
three.
eights. Yeah,
That was
but even
your
now against Man United, Walker was getting into that area, putting in crosses. So they
mm,
sort of switched out De Bruyne, and they seem to be using the fullbacks in those positions a lot more. Because
yeah.
Cancelo and Walker are obviously good crossers. So
It's interesting how all these
mm,
guys they keep evolving, don't they? And just when you think you've got
yeah,
them
yeah.
figured out, they spring something
Mm,
up. So yeah, next example we'll use. So a team that's quite common is a 4-4-2, and like we just spoke about there briefly, both fullbacks going forward. Um,
mm,
and as the fullbacks go forward in the 4-4-2, the 11 and the 7, the wide midfielders will roll inside. But because of the 9 and 10 kind of presence as a two already, they tend to not roll inside and run high. It tends to be coming in almost as two tens. Um,
mm,
the 8 and the 4 as the centre mids then become the cover, and they might become that covering fullback, covering the wide areas, or they might drop in. One might drop in centrally, and the other, if they're only doing the little rotation on one side, so only one would cover, and the other would become, I guess, like a temporary single pivot. And the thing to
mm,
think about with this, when you've got two up front, there's going to be probably earlier releases from the fullbacks. You're looking at probably crosses from lower positions, not as high, earlier
mm,
crosses. Because when you're playing as a 9 and 10, obviously you don't want to waste those two players pinning the opposing centre halves, particularly if they're a back four. So you've got to work the ball into them as efficiently as you can. And this team tends to be pretty good at it. Plus, then they've got the 11-7 rolling inside as support numbers. And even if they set up as a 9 and then a 10. The fullbacks moving forward still have the cutback options. They have the 1-2s, the third man combos with the wide players rolling in, and then you've also got the threat and behind from the 9. So this team as well, kind of more this year, they've tended to use a back three, which I'm personally quite surprised at because they're so 4-4-2 over however many years.
mm,
And personnel dependent, it tends to be on the left, the wing back pushes more than the right. So they're a little bit offset onto that side. And as a result, there's a bit more space. Maybe they're thinking kind of defensive transition here again to cover that quite a big hole between the 3 and the 4. That 6, the left centre back might step in a bit. The 4 then has to come across. The right centre back, the 5 has to come across. And
mm,
what happens quite a bit is one of the centre mids, then the 8 drops out a little bit to kind of rebalance. And then again, the central players in midfield will set up how they see fit. But it's interesting again with the 9 and 10 that with the 3 pushing a little bit higher than the 2, that the 10 kind of can drop in on that left side a bit deeper and become more of a 10 and more of a like a support striker
mm.
around the 9 as the main presence. So any ideas on this one?
Uh, is it Southampton? When you mean with
No,
the 4-4,
no. So
the 4-4,
yes, 4-4-2. Yeah,
yeah, the three at the back's throwing me off.
yeah.
Oh, darn, who is it?
It's Atletico.
Oh, Atletico Madrid. Ah, I was
Yeah.
expecting more of a possession-based side. I see what you mean when you said
No, it's
because
interesting. Yeah, so I've done some research recently on this, and I'm actually doing
mm,
like a CPD for some coaches coming up, and only until I've done the research where Atletico,
yeah,
4-4-2, low block, really deep defending, really organised, but in
mm,
possession they're actually more fluid and creative than possibly he gets credit for, Simeone.
yeah,
And
yeah,
certainly recently, I guess as his team's done better and they've finished in the Champions League kind of year after year, and obviously they've won leagues and they've got to Champions League finals, and the amount of money that the club's kind of generated, they can obviously start buying players that can handle the ball better. They can start, you know,
mm,
signing players that, with all due respect to the kind of early years of Simeone, that aren't just kind of direct and
mm,
counter-attacking and will sit in, but they'll still defend deep because that's Simeone's defending style. But they've just got, you're signing players like Suarez, Griezmann, Felix, um,
mm,
so many good ball-playing attackers that the style has to change a little bit. And I think it's quite interesting that some of the best players that come across that can kind of manage the game, people like Rodri and Sol and that, they come to the Premier League, and again they've come from Atletico.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really interesting to see how this year he's gone to the back three for not every game, but certainly most so far from what I've seen. And it'll be interesting to see how he sticks with that, particularly in Europe. I know
mm,
obviously they've played Liverpool a few times, haven't they? And the second leg, the red card kind of killed him a little bit, and in the first leg as well, actually. But
yeah, yeah,
there was some good examples of the play where again one of the centre mid drops out, and it's Carrasco as the three, who's to me
mm,
not really a wing back. I've always thought Carrasco as like a winger attacking midfielder, and he's been used
yeah,
on
yeah,
the left side as the wing back. So he's attacking a lot higher, and then Felix as a 10 he dropped anyway. The
mm,
first goal, I think it was the first. One of the goals in the first leg against Liverpool was really good, where Carrasco's high, Felix drops in, and then Griezmann's as the 9. And it was a really good
yeah, yeah,
example of that little pattern on the left side.
mm, yeah, yeah. Because Simeone does like the two up front. He
Mm.
seems to have any system he does, he always has a two up front. So yeah, the three at the back I didn't see coming because he started. I think he may have first done it like last year or maybe the year before, but for the last decade or so, it was always 4-4-2. But I think when because he had Carrasco, and I think Martinez used him as a wing back for Belgium a bit
Yeah.
before, and I think but Carrasco did really well there last year, so it sort of suits their system. And obviously, like with if you have three centre backs, it seems to be a lot more defensively solid nowadays than just the four at the back. So I think that's probably why he likes it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's from the outside looking in, it looks like obviously he wants to keep that compact low block defending, that mid
Mm,
and low blocks, and like you say, like the back five, and then you have two or three sitters kind of sitting in front. It's so hard to break down. And obviously, part
mm,
of the reason why Thomas Tuchel's been so successful at Chelsea is because partly because they're so hard to break down as that
yeah,
five, and
yeah,
then those sitters, you've got players like Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. They're so good out of possession ahead of a back
mm,
five. Um, yeah, you're spot on with Simeone. Like once the wing backs drop in,
yeah,
you,
yeah,
they're hard to break down anyway, aren't they? And like you say, he loves the two up front. I think that's the key. That he wants to keep that two up front, and a 3-5-2 obviously allows that. It'd be interesting to see if it goes kind of 3-4-3, if he goes like two tens in there, if he wants to kind of crowbar. You've got Griezmann and Felix underneath Suarez, for example. That could be
yeah,
a
yeah.
really assertive attacking little trio, couldn't it?
Mm.
But then you'd have to sacrifice somewhere else.